Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. In this episode, I have the pleasure of introducing our new project bike, the 2017 and up Honda Grom. In this particular episode, we will be installing the TST Industries Flushmount signals, which are available in a clear or smoked lens. For the purpose of this video, we will use smoked. We will also be showing the installation using our TST Industries harness converters that convert the bullet connectors from the flush mount signal to the OEM plug. It's a very straightforward installation. It'll take about 10 minutes. Let's begin. So in the first step, we will need to remove the headlight assembly off the bike. To do that, we will be removing these two fasteners using a 5mm Allen wrench, followed by the same fasteners on the right side of the bike. Once these fasteners come out, we'll need to pry these side portions away from the center line of the bike to clear them from their locking collars. And this whole piece will be free to come out. At this point, we'll have access to this plug here. It's a Sumitomo type plug. Press down on the clip and withdraw it. And then we will also need to remove the actual headlight plug. So to do this, we press on the locking feature here. This is our locking feature. It needs to be pressed in towards these green positions. And that will unlock it. And then we could withdraw the plug from this assembly. And we'll take this to our work surface and perform the next steps there. All right, so now we will need to disassemble some of these components to gain access to our signals. First thing we'll be doing is removing this 8mm hex head screw. I like to keep all the components together for ease of reassembly. Next, this push type fastener will need to be removed. First, I'll reset the head and then just withdraw it. And now this will split in half. And at this point, we'll be able to articulate these or rotate them around the mounts on the actual headlight assembly. So first, we'll rotate forward to clear this clip out of this window. So once it aligns, we'll clear it out and then rotate the opposite way. And we also have to make sure that all these parts here are clearing. And then we could remove the side part from this rubber boss. All right, now the wiring here is clipped in, so we'll need to clear all the clips, and that will allow us access to this plug. Now I like to use a flathead screwdriver to pry up on the locking feature of the plug. You can also do it with a nail. I just prefer to do it with a screwdriver. Pry it up, pull it out, good to go. I will do both sides before I move on. All right, so once again, align it with the window, pull it out, rotate the opposite way, and then pull it out of the boss. Clear all the wires. One thing I want to note is that there is a steel clip feature that fits around this portion here. Unless you rotate this back far enough, you will have a hard time clearing it out. So please pay attention to this feature being locked onto the headlight assembly here as you do this. So once again, we withdraw the other side plug, and now we have these two components split out and ready to be worked on. I'll temporarily put this to the side and we'll focus only on these components. So inside here, we have a 10 millimeter head hex nut. We will loosen it and remove it completely. There's also a washer here. These components will not be reused in our procedure. Then we have a flat spacer that needs to come out and cleared from the plug. This will also not be reused. Now at this point, we can just grab this signal and pull away, and it'll come out of the grommet that sits in this assembly. And the last portion of the removal of the OEM signal will be to remove this grommet. This can be done by hand or needle nose pliers. Simple enough just to do it by hand. So now I'm going to put this to the side, repeat the procedure on the left side component. All right, so now we can proceed to the next step. All right, so now let's identify the parts necessary for installation. In the kit, you will find 2 signals, 2 nuts, and also 2 washers. Now hopefully you opted to purchase these signals with the harness converters because they will greatly increase the ease of installation. Now they're not necessary, you can wire these signals in, but they make it much, much easier, and I highly recommend getting the combo. All right, so let's separate these signals. These are the same geometry for both sides, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. All right, we'll basically grab half the entire kit, put the other components to the side, and proceed to the assembly. All right, so we will feed the wires through the outside to the inside, placing the signal in this fashion. Now from behind, we use the washer, feed that onto our signal wires, making sure that we bottom out that washer, but make sure that it doesn't fall inside the well. So if it falls inside the well, you need to manipulate it out and make sure that it's flat against all these features here. Next, we'll get the nut over the wires and begin to thread it on to the stalk, the threaded stalk coming out of the back of the signal. And once this starts getting tight, you can use an open-ended 16 millimeter wrench to help yourself with threading it on. Just note that once you bottom it out, you don't want to over tighten it. You are threading plastic onto plastic, has enough friction in it to not loosen from vibration, but if you over tighten it, run the risk of breaking some of the components, and that is not covered under warranty, so please pay attention to how much force you exert on the nut. All right, so now I have my signal positioned really nicely, and I have it tightened down to where I feel it will not move. And now I will attach my harness converter onto the wires coming from the signal. Now these are the 3-to-2 converters, so they convert a 3-position plug to 2 wires. These signals do not have a running light feature in them. There's really no way to make them operate with running lights, so just note that before you guys purchase. The installation of these wires is really simple. You wire black to black, yellow to yellow, and make sure that these vinyl caps that insulate these connections cover all of the metal. Now these are free to slide around a little bit, so what I recommend doing is grabbing a little bit of electrical tape and fixing them in place. So we'll spread them apart, get a couple wraps around one, and then put them together and go back over with nice tight wraps over both of them. And the package ends up looking like this, nice and neat. And this is ready to go back onto this headlight assembly. So I will put that to the side for now and focus on repeating the procedure on the right side shroud. All right, now we'll need to identify which side goes where. We have front, left, right, and each one of these shrouds is designated on the inside, the letter L or R. So the left one goes on this side, the right one goes on the right side, obviously. I'm gonna start with the left, flip this whole assembly over, and basically just go in the reverse order of disassembly here, making sure that this whole feature fits over the rubber boss in a position where this will fit over this feature here. All right, here we go. And there we go. All right, now we'll rotate this shroud forward to clear that window here and engage these two components together, and then rotate back slightly. At this point, we move on to the other side and repeat the procedure. All right. Now we'll need to make sure that on the bottom of this assembly, these components fit together and clip together here. And we can replace this push-type fastener. Once it's in, press the center in, and that locks it in place. Now, we obviously need to get this last screw in place, and the shrouds here do have markings for the center of the screw. So we will align the shrouds on the headlight assembly in the fashion where these little line features that are molded into the shroud are across the center of the screw. I'm using an 8mm wrench. We will tighten that down. All right. Now, we will plug these things in. One plug on each side, and now we will need to find some nice routing on the inside here so that these wires stay out of the way and they're not just flopping. So we've disengaged the OEM wires from the clips existing on the inside here. We'll basically just go over and reuse those clipping features that are molded in to keep all these wires at bay. All right, so here's what I came up with for this side. I used this clip and the clip here, and that seems to do the job pretty well. I'm going to repeat the procedure on the right side of the headlight assembly. And this this is my method here. And now this is ready to go back on the bike. All right, so now on the way back onto the bike, we will first engage all of the plugs that we removed during disassembly. And both of these plugs are keyed. They just need to make a little snapping noise to indicate that they have been engaged. Now, before I move too far past this step, I want to show you guys what happens when you replace your OEM signals with LED type signals. On this particular bike, the signal light will get stuck on. This is because the OEM relay is expecting that you have a much larger current draw from your signals, and because we're using LED signals, we've reduced that current draw, and now the OEM relay, which is located right here, is confused. So what we're going to do here, if you've purchased the relay from us, we're going to do the installation of the relay before we put this back on, so that we don't have to remove all the components more than once. Now, a relay is really simple to use. It's a plug and play component. You remove the plug from the OEM relay, and the relay comes off from a steel tab, and it's mounted on this rubber keeper, as I call it. We're gonna remove this keeper off the OEM relay. And reuse it on our TST Industries relay. It's the same sort of packaging, so reassembly is really, really easy. All right, so now we'll just plug this in and get the rubber keeper back on the tab, and now we'll be able to remount this whole thing onto the bike. Now, one thing I want to note before I do that, this relay is adjustable in rate. So that means that you can take it apart and adjust the flash rate to your liking. We'll not show that in this video. We have a separate video for the installation of this relay by itself. If you're interested in the method on how to adjust your flash rate using this relay, please watch that video. All right, so without further ado, I will plug this right back in and give it another test to make sure we have proper flash rate. And it looks like we do. So now I will complete the reassembly, and that will require me to get these holes aligned with these bosses, and they actually have shoulders on them that fit within these holes. So I will need to make sure that all of that fits together and the shoulder bosses penetrate into these holes. All the meanwhile making sure I don't scratch off any of the paint from my shrouds. Now, the good news is these shrouds are pretty flexible, so we could manipulate them a little bit, and I've actually got them all engaged now, and I'm going to start getting these screws in. These are the screws that we removed in the first step using a 5mm Allen. All right, so this installation is complete. I wanted to note one thing for you guys. The 8mm screw on the bottom here that can be loosened at any point will allow you to fine-tune the direction in which your headlights point. So if you feel like you've knocked your headlight out of adjustment during this whole installation, please go ahead and loosen that screw, realign your headlight, and then tighten it back up. That's done using an 8mm socket. All right, so before I consider this completed, I'm going to test the system one more time. And it looks like we've done the job right. Everything's good to go. Now this installation is complete. Bike is ready to roll. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We have more videos like this coming up. I hope you consider subscribing to our channel. If you have any concerns, comments, please place them below in the comment feed. Other than that, we're done. See you guys next time.